Gil Martin here. The Locked On road to the NHL trade deadline continues. The Pittsburgh Penguins now making a move. They acquire defenseman Dmitry Kulikov from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for forward Brock McGinn and a third-round pick. Hunter Hodies of Locked On Penguins joins us again. And Hunter, let's start with this. What does Kulikov add to the Penguins lineup, if anything?
Great question, Gil. I think he gives them some added defensive depth to this team. If you're asking me right now, I don't think he's probably better than any of the six they have icing. They have on a nightly basis, I should say. Maybe you can argue Brian Dumoulin on the top pairing because he's had a bit of a rough year. Outside of that, though, the other five guys have definitely been a lot better than him this year. I just don't know how many games he's going to play down the stretch. That's my big thing because you now have 8 defensemen on this roster. Trevor Riedl's your number 7. Kulikov, you add to that. And the pairings that they've been doing, Dumoulin, Letang, Pedersen with Petrie, and they've been doing P.O. Joseph with Jan Rutta. Right now, I probably wouldn't take any of those guys out. At some point, they may want to give Kulikov some games, see how he does. I know he had a little bit of a better year in Minnesota last year. He's playing some tough minutes for the Ducks this season. I've just never really been a fan of him for as long as he's been in the league. But I will say, Gil, this deal is more about them getting out of Brock McGinn's contract than getting Kulikov in. I thought they were just trading Kulikov and trading a pick for him. That probably would have been more clueless, but once the return came in, my judgment on it changed, and I think it definitely changed into more of a win in my eyes than a loss.
So getting rid of McGinn and his contract, does that, in your mind, open the door for possibly another move? And if they deal a defenseman, is that maybe where Kulikov fits into the lineup?
They should have at least one more move coming. Elliot Friedman freaking woke up at 6:37, just tweeted out that the Penguins are working to acquire Nick Bonino. They haven't had the trade call yet. I don't know what's going on with that. I haven't heard anything on it. But that's who I think they're expecting to bring in. I think Pierre LeBrun said they're trading a 5th and a 7th for him, but one of those picks is going to a broker team. So I think there's going to be a lot of money retained. Outside of that deal, if it goes through, I'm not really sure what else they're going to do. They could deal a defenseman. I would really hope they don't deal Marcus Pedersen or P.O. Joseph. I think that would be very foolish. They both have been very good this season. But it certainly would appear, Gil, that they could have a defenseman trade lined up at some point, though I'm not really sure because you have 8 guys right now. Kulikov has played most of the games for the Ducks this season. Is he just going to really sit on the bench for 20 games? It's a curious decision. But again, this deal is more about them getting out of McGinn's contract. It's funny, 2 of Ron Hextall's biggest blunders in the last couple of years, that Kasperi Kapanen contract and the Brock McGinn contract, he's somehow found takers for both, which is 2 big wins in my book. So
I actually, as compared to earlier in the week, you actually do feel there was some logic behind this particular trade.
Hey, if they didn't do that Granlund trade, they would have, I think they would have over $7 million in cap space right now. They could really even go after, a bigger fish. But, they got Granlund. He had a fine debut last night. Nothing too bad, nothing too good. They will still have some salary cap space for the deadline if they do want to do anything over the next 90 minutes or so. But this move is also about the summer because they're going to have more cap space to open up. They're not going to be giving McGinn almost $3 million. They're not going to be giving Kapanen over $3.2 million. Getting rid of 2 players who were really just not scoring that much this season. Again, that's a win in my book. And also, the Teddy Blueger trade. I know it set up the Granlund one, but that's 3 guys out that were really not doing much in the bottom 6 this season. Hextall said it a lot of his press conferences that, the depth has not been performing as I would like. And, he certainly decided to change that up in a big way. Half of the bottom 6 to start the year, Gil, is out the door.
Yeah, so change is the byword in Pittsburgh. Be sure to check out Locked On Penguins for more on this and all other moves made by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And keep it dialed into Locked On NHL all along the road to the NHL trade deadline. This is the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.